Hi, my name is Wanda and I'm with Jimmy Branch Homestead. Today we're going to be making banana bread. And this recipe that I'm using, basically I grew up with it. It's a recipe that my mother had and I've made it all my life. So the recipe is called Best Banana Bread, but I also call it Very Easy. Maybe it's because I've been making it so long, but I just love this bread recipe. So to start off with, I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And then I sprayed my bread pan with a baking spray. I like the pan baking spray, but if you don't have baking spray, you can use shortening and coat it in flour and then, just knock the excess out. That's how I did it growing up. We didn't have pan spray, but now I like it. Okay, so next we are going to take, it calls for a large bowl. I find this medium bowl, large bowl to my set, but it's probably 10 inches in diameter. And we put 1/2 cup of butter or margarine in this bowl. We're going to microwave it. For 1 minute to melt the butter. It usually doesn't take that long, so I'm going to start off with 30 seconds and then I can give it a quick stir. My microwave's pretty high. And I had it designed that way with my cupboards extra high because I like the extra clearance from the counter for my appliances and stuff. I don't want to have to be banging them up against there. And also I have a very large tall canner and it would not have cleared if I used the regular standard height cupboards. Okay, so that's 30 seconds. Oh, let me grab a spoon. Yeah, see, and that already melted it. We're just going to kind of finish stirring it up to finish melting it within itself. And now we're going to add bananas to the same bowl, and it calls for 3 large bananas. If you have small bananas, you can always use 4. And I find that bananas that are half turned brown, starting to turn brown pretty good, those make the best banana bread. Once they start turning color, they really get sweet. I'm just going to break it in chunks and we're going to chop it up with a fork. Or mash it up with a fork. The peels will go in my compost to make me wonderful compost for my garden. We're going to just kind of mash these bananas right into the butter mixture. We're pressing them up against the bowl to help smash them. They're still a little bit firm even though they were starting to turn color. Your bananas can turn almost black and still be salvageable for banana bread. You can use bananas that are just ripe yellow, but they're much more difficult to mash. Okay, now I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I love the Watkins brand, but of course, it's your kitchen. Use any kind you like. And then 2 large eggs. My chickens lay small to medium eggs, so I'm going to use 3. I like to crack my eggs in a little ramekin before putting them in my mixture, so if I come across a bad one, it doesn't go in and ruin my food. These eggs are from our Easter egger chickens, so they are green and blue. The first one was blue and this is a green. Not sure how good the colors will show up on video. And this is also a very light greenish blue. I'm now stirring up the mixture to really incorporate the eggs. So you no longer see the bright yellow streaks. You mainly see the bananas. Okay, in a second bowl, again, it said it calls for large, I'm using the same size. I am going to add 2 cups of flour. And 1 cup of sugar. Okay, next we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, to the dry ingredient bowl. One-half teaspoon of salt. And 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then we whisk all these together. Really want to mix it well so the baking soda and the cinnamon, everything is really incorporated into the dry mixture. And it's also mixing the flours and the sugars together real good. If you want looking for gluten-free, just add almond flour instead of regular flour or some other gluten-free flour. Now we're going to add the dry mixture to the wet mixture, a little at a time. We don't want to over mix it, but it's easiest if you only put a third to a half of the solution, the dry mix in at a time, and then mix it together. You can use a spoon, but since I already have a whisk out here, I just thought I would use it. I'm just going to pretty much clean off my whisk. It doesn't require a whisk to mix in the wet ingredients. I usually just use a spatula. I just happen to have it in the bowl still, so I did this time. Okay, so now we're just going to pour the batter into my loaf pan. As you can see, it pretty well filled from an inch from the top of my Corningware glass baking dish. It will rise up and be mounded over and make a beautiful loaf of bread. Okay, we're going to put it in the oven, and the instructions always say 45 to 55 minutes. I have never had mine done before 55 minutes, so rather than, but try it first in your oven, but my oven always takes 55 minutes at least. So I'm going to put it in the oven. And turn the timer on 55 minutes. In 55 minutes, I'll bring you back and show you how it looks like. Okay, our timer's going off. And I have a toothpick to check the bread. And it's still quite doughy. So I'm going to put it on for another 7 minutes. And we'll check back then. Okay, here we go again. I will get a clean toothpick. There we go. And it's coming out clean, so we're good to go. And I am going to cool it on the cooling rack for about 5 minutes before I dump it out. Okay, I've let it cool in the pan for a good 5 minutes, and then I've turned it out on my baker's rack to cool. I will let it cool here now for quite some time, probably about an hour before I slice it up. And it needs to be completely cold before I put it in a bag to store it. So if you're enjoying this type of video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our videos. It's the best way you can help us to grow our homestead and channel. Thank you so much for watching Jimmy Branch Homestead.